If you are a student at school or a university, let's be honest, there are a limited number of ways of earning some money on the side. And realistically, for most of us, there are only two options. You could get a job at a local shop or cafe near where you live or study, but this does mean you are tied to one, an hourly wage that they set and will most likely stay the same as you work hard and progress, and two, a fixed working schedule. These are both very limiting, and so in this video, I'll share my 3-step framework on how I grew from tutoring for £10 an hour at 16 to now more than £100 an hour, and how you can too. If you're a student and not tutoring, you are seriously missing out on a whole load of money and, even more importantly, opportunities. So here's my 3-step framework for getting into tutoring, sharing your hard-earned skills and knowledge, and growing your portfolio and in turn your hourly rate in a relatively short period of time. Hey guys, I'm Bartol if you're new here. A couple of months ago, I graduated with a master's from engineering at Oxford, and since the age of about 16, I've been tutoring. I first tutored kids who needed help with maths and physics in high school, and for the past few years, students who want to study engineering and physics at university. In this time, I've helped hundreds of students and learned a lot of things about finding clients and growing my presence in the space. And in this video, I'll share all of the things I learned and a bunch of mistakes that slowed me down in my growth so that you don't have to repeat them in your tutoring journeys. First off, as I mentioned, if you're a student over the age of 15 and not already tutoring, you have to get started. If you're like me, and thinking back, I didn't have crazy grades or a reputation of going to Oxford. If you're like me, you'll think, hang on, I'm not good enough. Why would anyone hire me? Well, to be honest, you don't have to be. And before we start with actionable steps to grow, let me convince you why you should even start, as it was the hardest part to get over for me. If we think of school as a forest, when you're in a region of the forest, you are in it. You're finding things out and you're finding your way until you get to the next part of the forest and the next part. There's no right way through a region, but having someone to guide you and just tell you things that they saw or dead ends that they found can be and is super valuable. Just by the fact of being older than someone and having gone through the experiences that they're going through, you're already fully qualified to guide them. But I'm not a professor, I'm not nearly qualified enough. We all think that professors are the best teachers. Well, in my experience, having now gone to Oxford, where arguably the best professors for engineering are, they're not really. Sometimes I would be in a tutorial. What the hell is a tutorial, Bartol? Well, a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 session with my professor and another friend on my course. In these tutorials, I would bring up questions I was stuck on, and the professor would just look at me blankly before thinking of a way of best explaining a concept. And most of the time, to be honest, it didn't really resonate. Where I learned most was actually after these sessions, where the friend in my tutorial who had done the question right and was better at the topic than me gave me some insights and walked me through how he or she tackled the problem. What we don't realize is that our professors or teachers haven't had to tackle the confusion of a given concept for many years, sometimes decades. And so they forget what their experience with learning it was like and how they got over it. It is from the friend that is a little bit older than you, or a person in the year above that has recently gone through the same struggle and gotten over it. It is from them that we learn the most. So don't think of yourself as a professor of the subject if you're tutoring, but just a friend from the year above that is guiding the younger student through a given concept or subject and offering advice on how you thought about it and things that helped you understand it. Trust me, it's way more valuable than advice from a professor who went through the same struggles 30 years ago. Okay, so hopefully I've convinced you that you don't have to be an expert in a subject to start tutoring, which in my experience was the hardest part of the entire process. And now we can get started with the 3 actionable steps to get you some students and get you earning some reasonable money for the skills and knowledge that you've worked hard for in your education. Before we get started, I'd just like to kindly ask you to give this video a like if you're enjoying it, and to subscribe to my channel for more videos like these. I'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video. Okay, step 1, get going. So you're a student, you have the skill of either being quite good at a subject or just having passed it and having some insights about it to share. You have this value to give that people are willing to pay for. You just have to find them. Now, it's possible to make flyers, stick them on lampposts in your neighborhood, or share them around school. And this could work, but when I was in school, I found the ultimate shortcut. It was Facebook Mums. For anyone that doesn't already know, Facebook is ruled by mums. They have Facebook groups for their gym classes. They have Facebook groups for their streets or neighborhoods. And more importantly, they have Facebook groups for all the mums in their kids' school. And this is the best way to get yourself out there. I remember I just asked my mom to make a short post saying that I offered some maths tutoring on the weekends. And within about a day, and I'm not even joking, within a single day, I was fully booked for the next 4 months. It was insane. Now, it did help that at the start, I didn't set my hourly rate crazy high. I started at £25 for a 2-hour session, but at the same time, that was more than I could earn working at the cafe next door or at my local shop. So it was definitely a win. And I advise you, if you're starting, keep it reasonable, as your first few clients are really your testing ground to see whether this new job is for you, but also it gives you time to develop some teaching skills and methods to plan your lessons. Another thing is that these first few clients are going to be the ones that will then give you testimonials and reviews. And honestly, the way parents in school work, it will literally be word of mouth marketing from then on. and other parents would just text you about work from then on out. What I also used to do was offer a free taster lesson, which worked wonders as it just eliminates all the risk for the parents and students, and also gives them as well as you a chance to see whether you're a good fit for the student, and more importantly, whether they are a good fit for you. So definitely try that out too. Okay, so you've gotten started, you've got your first few clients, you're working a few hours a week on the weekends, and you're already earning some reasonable pocket money. Life is good. So now it's time for step 2, getting good. The big mistake I made here after my first few students was jump straight to increasing my price or trying to organize venues to make classroom type learning. But at this stage, it is more important to just get good. Perfect your craft. You have all this knowledge to share, but you have to constantly work on and improve on the way you share and teach it. So don't skip steps yet. Focus on students you have, work with them, and really be invested in teaching them and getting them to improve. If this is done right, then in your testimonials and reviews, you'll see this mirrored. I remember for me at the start, I fell into the trap of focusing on the money and just trying to get more students. But it's really when I stopped doing this and focused on each student I did have rather than on the ones I didn't, that I really improved and gained a great reputation among my students. I would invest time making practice sheets and going through their textbooks and syllabus and really understanding their needs to best help them with their studies. Teaching doesn't come very naturally to some of us, and at the start it didn't to me either. So taking the time to watch videos on it and prepare for lessons just made my lessons a lot more valuable and enjoyable for both me and my students. So once you get good and get your lessons to a level where you are providing a lot more value to your students, then it is time for step 3. Now, just before we move on to step 3, I want to really emphasize that you will know when you're ready for step 3 when reviews like, "Oh wow, Bartol helped me get from a C to an A grade in maths in my last exam," or "I'm so happy Bartol taught me. Through his lessons I have really gotten to enjoy physics and I'll be applying for it at university next year." When these types of reviews start rolling in, you'll know you're ready for step 3. So step 3, get smart. Now this is where we can really grow and scale. We know we're ready because we've had multiple students over the past few months, and then they've written us glowing reviews that show that our teaching methods and resources are really working and providing a lot of value, helping our students excel in their studies. Well, now we're ready for step 3, but before we get into it, if you're on step 2 and enjoying it and thinking, wow, I'm actually pretty satisfied here, working on the weekends and that's it, well, that's fine. I know a lot of friends that are like this, and to be honest, at university, I didn't have much time to go past this stage either, and I was happy with just filling my weekends with work. But step 3 is getting smart. It's increasing our reach, further improving our lessons and scaling to more group work, as well as personalized higher quality sessions. It's in this step that I would urge you to definitely get online. At the start, signing up for a tutoring agency or website, and then later making a personal website. This just opens you up to more people and more work that is specific to your skill set. By going online, you can also become even more flexible with your work and your time. In this stage, you can also start to increase your hourly rate to one that you're happier with now that you've had a bunch of experience. What I suggest in this stage as well is having a think about whether you want to switch to more group sessions in a classroom venue, or even easier in an online Zoom class, which removes the stresses of finding a physical space. Moving to this sort of style, having multiple students at a time but charging a slightly lower price, or really focusing in on single student sessions at a higher price. This distinction is quite important to make as it will shape the way that you work. For me, I did dabble a little bit in group sessions with multiple students at a time, but at university, with quite a demanding course at Oxford, more students meant more admin, talk to more parents. So personally, I focused on a single student at a time, really tailoring their experience, providing as much value as I could in terms of my specialized knowledge and expertise, and with this charging more for my time as well. What I want to say that it's up to you. Past this stage, there is no prescriptive method of doing things, but rather your own personal preference and the time constraints that you are working with. But remember, as long as you are sharing your experiences, teaching and hopefully inspiring students, what I realized is that that is all that matters. And past a certain hourly rate or number of students that you teach, that is all that has to matter. So that was my 3-step framework of just how to get into and grow your own tutoring business as a student. Remember, it's a process and not instant, so don't skip the steps. Perfect your craft and focus on providing value at every step of the way. If you want to keep developing your own studies and methods, check this video out, where I talk about 9 books that really helped me level up not only my study techniques, but my approach and thinking about studying and life in general. After all, these books did get me into and through Oxford studying engineering, so they are actually tried and tested. And if you gotten this far, thank you so much for watching. And in the comments below, let me know your tutoring insights and other ways you are able to create a little bit of a side hustle as a student, or any comment really or query that you have about mine. I will read and reply to all of them as always. If you've enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps me continue making these hopefully insightful and entertaining videos. Anyway guys, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.